Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the Life's Good. As you can see from that opening video, the last 3 weekends I've been assisting my friend Gary with his sort of garden clearance, patio reveal and shed build. It's gone rather well. It was a bit challenging to start with, but we've got there in the end, and he's very pleased with the result, and I'm now free to crack on with a few things for myself. Now, remember the shed I took down back in the early part of the season? That small shed that I'd converted into a greenhouse didn't work out very well. It's a bit rotten. I've taken it down and created a raised bed for my salad crops. Well, the cladding from that I've attached to a pallet and created a little bar for our decking area. Quite pleased with it. Just a pallet, the cladding, a top on 2 pieces of cladding for the like the bar top, and I've got an old piece of skirting board, off-cut of skirting board inside for a shelf. I'll lift you on in a minute and let you have a little look behind. It's quite neat and tidy, but it'd be ideal for when we have guests and we have a little barbecue. I can stand there and dish out the barbecue food, and Cheryl could stand there and serve me beer. That would be better, wouldn't it? Anyway, so I've created a little bar for our decking, so we're quite pleased with that. There's a few things I wanted to show you today. The raspberries, they are finished now. There's no more raspberry left on the canes. However, they do need a tidy up before the end of the season now. So I wanted to show you, I've shown you before, I have explained this before, about how to prune raspberries and prepare them for the winter in order to get fruit the following year. I have done it before. We'll go through it again specifically so that I can explain to you or show you what to do with your raspberry canes. And if I get time, I may do a potato reveal. I noticed some of our Desiree potatoes in containers have actually got potatoes near the surface of the soil, so I'll check those and see if there's anything there that's worth tipping out to see what sort of yield we're getting from some of those tubs. So let's have a quick look behind the bar and then we'll go down and I'll show you what to do with the raspberries. Right, just a quick peek behind the bar. You can see the top is made from 2 of the pieces of cladding from the old shed, just nailed on the surface, guys. And you can see the pallet inside, and I've put the feet on the end just to stop it tipping, and I used a piece of old an offcut of floorboard, a tongue and groove floorboard, to create that shelf in the midsection. It's all been stained. I had some fence staining of a light brown colour. Everything's been stained because it is going to stand out here in the elements. I may consider putting a plastic bag over it or something in the middle of winter just to protect it a little bit. But for me, for Cheryl and I, and for when we're entertaining, this is going to be absolutely ideal. We absolutely love it. If I can turn around, I'm just trying to wriggle between the fence and the bar, guys. It's a little bit narrow here, but it is movable. I could move it forward if I wanted to. There you go. You can see what's going on in here. You can see parts of the old pallet and the cladding attached to the outside, and the whole thing is going to be quite handy for us to entertain with. Right, well, enough of the bar. The only thing missing, of course, is a pint. There's one missing there and there's one missing there. Never mind. We'll nip down to the plot. You can see my tripod there. Everything else is looking nice in the garden. We'll nip down to the plot and I'll show you what to do with those raspberries. Just looking across the plot at the raspberries against the fence, and you can see there's a lot of new foliage in front of there, and tucked in behind, attached to the wires, is last year's growth that had the fruit on this year. So I'll take you in closer and show you what to do in order to prune them. Well, I'm hoping you can see this all right, guys. Here in the front, we've got a lot of new green growth. These canes were thrown up this year. They've grown this year. There's a smaller one in front here. And behind them, you can see back here, is the brown woody stems that grew last year. Now these had the fruit on this year. So what we need to do now is to get in here and right down at ground level, we cut these brown ones off right down there, take them away completely, but we leave the green ones growing. There's another one under my arm here. We leave these green ones growing and we tie these back to the wires I've got on my fence, and that stops them getting knocked about in the winter by the wind and so on. And it's these green stems that next year will bear fruit, and whilst they're bearing fruit, the plant throws up some more new growth, and these will be replaced next year by the new growth. So it's a succession every year. You take away the old brown stems, leave the green ones. Next year you do the same. These green ones turn brown. Once they finish fruiting, they're no good anymore. You take them away and leave the green ones. So I'll get in at the bottom with my secateurs and I'll show you how I take them off close to the ground. Okay, I'm hoping you can see this all right. This is a green stem. There's another one behind it there, and there's another one in there. There are actually 3 new raspberry stems, or canes as they're called, on this plant. The others, there's 1, 2, 3 brown ones, and they're the old ones, guys. You can see them, they're quite obvious. And all I do is use my secateurs and get right in close to the bottom, really tight to the ground, and snip that off, and that can come away. I'll do the same with the other one, as close to the ground as you can, and again to this one. That one's a bit tough. There you go. So those 3 canes I've cut off at ground level. They are attached by string to the wires, so I use a pair of scissors or a knife or something to cut the string and remove those, and I'll show you what I do next. Okay, so we've cut them off at the bottom close to the ground. I've cut the little bits of string that were holding them to the wires. You can see the wires through here, guys. Now this stem here is now free to be removed, so we'll get rid of that one. I'll just throw that back there. The next one is that one there. That can go. We've got this one as well. Get them out. There you go. You can see that one. Old and woody, and that's done its job this year, and it's gone. So that leaves us with these 3. There's a bit of string left there. We can get rid of that, tidy up. And all I do, I'll just reach under you there, guys, because I've got a ball of string, and all I do is take off about a foot, 10 inches of string, and I wrap it around the fence 2 or 3 times, well, around the wire I should say, and then bring it around this cane and just tie it, just a reef knot, just a standard knot on there, and that'll hold it against that cane. Now there's a snap piece here, that's off of one of the other branches, we don't want that. I've tied it at the top there, I'm going to tie it at the bottom as well. And this just protects it, holds it in place during the inclement winter weather. Holds it upright. You don't want it snapping off, because once it's snapped off it'll die and it won't produce raspberries next year. So that one's going in that direction up there. I get a bit more string now. Again, This one here I can pull back in here next to it, pull it against the fence. I suppose you could use cable ties, any other method of attaching these. I do leave them quite slack in so much as I don't pull the string really tight around the stem, because that allows for a bit more growth and a bit more swelling. I will pull this in against this one here. So you just tie them off again, and that one now is tied against that fence quite nicely. I got one sticking out here. I actually don't have any wires any further than this post going the other way, so I might pull that one back in here, just slide this one over a bit and put that one next to it. And all you do is work your way along your row. You take out all these old brown stems, tie in the green ones, and that's job done until next year, guys. They lose all their leaves during the winter. They just become the sticks or the canes stood here, and then in the spring you'll start to see these bud up, and before you know it there'll be a hedge of raspberries here and lots of wonderful fruit to be harvested next year. Well, that's my raspberries. I'll see what the time is, and maybe we'll have a look at a tub of potatoes. What do you think? Good idea? Okay, let's go and look at one. Right guys, you can see that the foliage on this potato is pretty withered and brown now. I think the right term is helm. I've referred to it as helm before. It's holm or helm. I think it depends which part of the country you're from. But this now has dried off, although these have been kept fairly moist. I did notice the other day that rubbing around in the surface here, I actually revealed, there we go, a small potato. Not a bad size, but I prefer to see something a bit bigger. Well, I just thought that because these have all died back now, we just empty one out and see what sort of yield or how many potatoes we're likely to be getting from our other tubs and containers. So let's tip it out. Ooh, can't see too much at the moment, guys. Oh, now look at this. Wow. I hope I wasn't in your way then, but look, we have in here a lot of lovely new Desiree potatoes. Now these would be lovely. I'm just dropping them everywhere, guys. Not a bad size. I'm happy with these. These are going to be lovely with our dinners. What I would do is I'll take them all out of here and weigh them, and I'll give you some idea of the amount of potato in terms of quantity and weight, how many there were and what sort of weight I'm getting. Now these are quite small, I must admit. They're not the biggest, but then again, as a new potato, these would be ideal just boiled with their skins on, and a bit of butter alongside a dinner. They'd be absolutely gorgeous. So I'll weigh them out and let you know what we've ended up with. All right, guys. Well, let's see what else we got to do today. Plenty, I'm sure. I'll get myself organised and I'll come back to you in a minute. Well, if you hear lots of funny noises in the background, guys, there's actually a couple of wood pigeons on the edge of our roof, and they're getting a little bit frisky, to say the least, and they're making quite a racket. Right, well, I hope you found the information on the raspberries of interest. It's important to remove the old stems and leave the new ones to grow. And as far as the potatoes were concerned, we actually ended up with 36 potatoes from that tub. The total weight was 2 pounds and 5 ounces, which is a little bit over a kilo. These are the sort of potatoes I was getting. This was the better one. There's several of that size. There's some as small as this, but they're all usable. They're all edible. we'll be using these over the coming evenings with our dinner. Be interested to know what you guys have done this year. If you've got helicopter. I think I'll pause there for a second. Some of my new subscribers may not be aware that we are actually on the flight path to Newcastle Airport where we live. We're right underneath the approach to the airport, which is about 3.5 miles west of here. So we get all the aircraft coming in, approaching the airport very close or very low over our home. But we also get military aircraft in there and the occasional police helicopter. So I've had to pause for a moment to allow him to have a little look around, and he's tootled off over to the airport now, presumably to land and refuel or whatever. Guys, I do hope you found the video interesting. The information on the raspberries, our potato yield from 1 tub. And I hope you like the little bar I've created, and perhaps you'll be inspired to make something of your own. Well guys, I'm going to have to go. It's getting late in the evening. We do need some supper. I'm lucky enough to have poured myself a small beer from my home brew. So, stood here with a beer next to my bar is my little happy place at the moment. Guys, whatever you're doing, okay, you look after yourselves. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. Hit that little red button in the corner. Subscribe to the channel. Come back and see us again soon. You look after yourselves. You stay safe. Okay? And come back and see us soon. And then life's good. Bye-bye for now. Cheers.